2017. We're here for the purpose of the regular meeting of the Elmhurst City Council. To kick things off, I'm going to invite the Boy Scout Troop, Troop 82 from Emmanuel Lutheran to join us, and they're going to kick off the Pledge of Allegiance. So all rise. I'm going to ask the young men to come up here. Perfect. Take it away when you're ready. Flag's over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Watch your step, guys. Clerk Spencer, I'd ask that you call the roll.
Mr. Wags.
Bram.
Here.
Polomsky. Here. York.
Here.
Deludo. Here. Healy.
Here.
Levin.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Conquest. Absent. Wagner.
Here.
Mulliner.
Here.
Deuter. Here. Sabatino. Absent. Leader.
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
12 present, 2 absent.
All present, 2 absent. We have a quorum. On to agenda item 2, receipt of written communications from the public. At this time, is there anyone in the audience who has any written communication they wish to submit for distribution at a later time to council? Any written communication at this time? Please raise your hand. Seeing none, we'll go on to public forum. Agenda item 3. This is an opportunity for anyone in the audience to address the council on any issue they so choose. When you're identified, we ask that you go over to this microphone over here, give us your name. We are recording this. Address is optional. We ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes out of respect for the work that we need to get done here this evening, and also out of respect for other folks who may want to speak. I will time you, and if you go over your 3 minutes, I will give you a gentle reminder and ask you to wrap up. Clerk Spencer, at this time, is there anybody who has signed up for public forum?
Yes, Mayor. Lisa Gerhold. I practiced this and I messed it up. Gerald Dirks. I got the Dirks.
I'm Lisa Gerhold Dirks. Good evening. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the Elmhurst Cool Cities Coalition. We're a group of residents, institutions, and businesses working on environmental sustainability solutions in Elmhurst. 2017 marks our 10th anniversary. As we reach this milestone, we continue to see and support the growing interest in sustainable living in the community. Here's a few examples from the past year. We're doubling attendance at our educational programming on sustainable topics like solar power, natural lawn care, composting, and movie screenings. We continue to field questions from businesses, including Brew Point Coffee, regarding assistance for better recycling options and energy efficiency solutions. We're seeing growing awareness and community support for salvaging building materials from teardowns. An Elmhurst resident and student started a food recovery program at Elmhurst College, saving 2,300 pounds of food from landfills in the first semester, having it delivered to local homeless shelters. We're observing increased interest in locally grown food, including new programs at schools, increased interest in community-supported agriculture, and more residents growing organic food at home. More residents are protecting monarchs and pollinators. The Elmhurst community established 10 new monarch way stations in 2016, bringing the total to 29. And the mayor has reaffirmed the importance of this issue by signing the Mayor's Monarch Pledge. Also, beekeeping is now allowed at high schools and colleges in Elmhurst, with the college's programs starting up this spring. We're aware of increased use of native landscaping and permeable pavers to reduce stormwater runoff by local residents and business owners. More residents and groups are reducing pesticide use on grass and gardens, including 50+ residents who have pledged to go pesticide-free, and Elmhurst Park District's pesticide-free Van Voorst Park. We've confirmed at least 3 new residential solar installations in 2017. And based on my personal experience owning an electric vehicle, I've noticed that the new charging stations at the Addison Garage are being used quite regularly. Our community cares about these things and is actively seeking solutions. The City of Elmhurst was one of the original founding members of our coalition, but it's been several years since you've officially been a partner with us. We invite you to recommit to our group as we continue our work to make Elmhurst a desirable, healthy, and livable community. Having your partnership will facilitate communications and provide new opportunities for collaboration within the community. Now more than ever, we need to be vigilant environmental advocates. We thank you for your past support and request your renewed participation in the coalition as we move into the next 10 years of creating a more sustainable community. Thank you.
Barbara Lundgren.
My name is Barbara Lonergan. I'm also speaking on behalf of Elmhurst Cool Cities Coalition. Cool Cities is in favor of the city revising codes in order to assist residents' ability to grow their own food. Backyard farming or gardening reduces vehicle miles traveled to and from grocery stores. It reduces waste by eliminating the purchase of food packaging. It reduces waste by allowing the grower to harvest only what is currently needed. It allows the home farmer to cost-effectively grow organic, non-GMO, pesticide-free food, and in some cases, reduces waste for growers who compost their food waste back into the soil. The city's sustainability policy states that community awareness, responsibility, participation, and education are elements of a sustainable community. All community members, including individual citizens, must be aware of their impact on the environment, must take responsibility for reducing, eliminating, and balancing that impact, and must take an active part in community efforts to address sustainability concerns. The policy also states that cross-sector partnerships are necessary to achieve sustainable goals, and I quote, "Partnerships among city government and residents are necessary to achieve a sustainable community." A revised code allowing for hoop houses could be one such partnership and one that Cool Cities strongly encourages. Thank you.
John McNichols, 185 East Fremont.
Good evening, Mayor, and thank you to the City Council for hearing me tonight. My name is John McNichols. I live at 185 East Fremont Avenue. I've been a resident of Elmhurst for 6 months now, and I think this is my 4th opportunity speaking to you. I'm here tonight to talk about Zoning and Planning Commission case 16P-12. Recently, that case changed. The applicant, Elmhurst Extended Care Center, withdrew their application for zoning variation based on lot coverage size, and that prompted the Zoning and Planning Commission to open a new case. That case still requires, or is still requesting, conditional use and a map amendment so that Elmhurst Extended Care Center can expand their business onto 2 empty lots on East Fremont Avenue. I'm here because I oppose that application. Elmhurst Extended Care Center is a wonderful business. It just belongs in its commercial zone where it is now. Because their plans have changed several times already, it reminds me of the question I asked last time I was here, which is what will happen to this site if their business changes in the future? Map amendment and conditional use will prompt the building of a very large commercial facility, an institution, something other than R2, single-family detached home. And because the nature of the skilled care industry has changed and will continue to change, putting this facility on East Fremont Avenue doesn't seem to make a lot of sense for the long-term benefit of Elmhurst. Property values will decrease on our street. I actually commissioned an appraiser, and he came out and explained to me that external obsolescence is the outside influence of something other than your property that decreases its value. And he, in no uncertain terms, showed me that my property value would decrease by as much as 4%, as well as those properties surrounding this proposed development. Traffic would be negatively impacted, we believe. We're talking about a facade, a 2-story facade that would run the entire length of my property. So imagine in your own homes if you had a 2nd story of residential facility looking into your backyard. That's not what Elmhurst residential neighborhoods are really built on. So I don't think many people would appreciate that, and I certainly don't. The new site plan is not calling for an increase in the number of patients that the Elmhurst Extended Care Center would serve. Rather, it would just reconfigure their business so that they could make more money. I understand why businesses want to make more money, especially businesses that provide care for seniors. I just don't think it belongs on a residential street like East Fremont Avenue, which is a quiet cul-de-sac. In the end, I don't believe that the applicant, even though they withdrew their variance request, I don't believe they've met the standards for conditional use. I don't believe they've met the standards set out by the Zoning and Planning Commission for map amendment. And I believe it would be bad for my neighborhood, and I believe ultimately that this type of development is bad for the city of Elmhurst. Thank you.
Claude Pagash, 566 West Gladys.
Claude Pagash, 566 West Gladys. Who would have thunk an enclosed structure and a coffee shop would keep this place filled? Did last meeting. Yep. Little plastic structure. Protect vegetables. Not a tax increase. Not a new fee. And what do we find out? They had a hearing. Can't have it. Doesn't meet the code of the city of Elmhurst. And if they don't take the structure down, well, our legal department will go in there. Get a court order. I've come to a lot of meetings. I've had this council give more variations, more adjustments, more changes to building codes. It's a wonder the guy that has to go out there and visualize the building has any idea what the code is. But a little plastic building. Not much of a structure either. But there's a code for it. And if you're a resident, you're going to adhere to that code. Now, if you're a commercial building, we'll make every modification we have to. And you have. As one gentleman said at the last meeting, it was rather short. There is no building code for the city of Elmhurst. That's true. It's what somebody wants. And if you're a resident, you don't have enough pull. Secondly, coffee shop. Why is it that every commercial business that comes to this town needs to reach into the public treasury? They can't build it. There's no banks in this town that give them a loan. Their idea is so great, but no bank will give them a loan. But not this city council. Hands out money left and right, big hunks of it. There's another big hunk going out for this so-called new exercise outfit on Addison. No hesitation. Building code changes, lump of money out of the public treasury, no doubt about it. Same thing with the coffee place. Not against businesses, but I bought a home in this town.
Mr. Pagash,
I
I'd ask
heard
you to wrap up your
nobody
comments.
from the city come out and say, here's 50 grand to help defer your mortgage. But every commercial business comes here and says, if I don't get money from the council, I'm leaving. And what do? Not 50,000, 650,000, a lot of money, even in pennies.
Cynthia Jones, 130 Oak.
Yeah, my name is Cynthia Jones. I live at 130 Oak Street. I've owned that home for 36 years. It's a house with a driveway that butts the house, and the edge of the driveway is the property line. And this past 6 months, there's been a construction site there. When they dug the foundation, they overdig, because they have to get the footings in, but now we have these 3-foot bunker-like window wells. So they hang off the side of the house. So in the end, when they were done and they poured all this stuff, I had about this much dirt off the edge of the driveway until it rained. And then that was gone for part of the length of the driveway, and I could get my hand underneath it. So I went to the city, and all I ever got was, I got a business card stuck in my front door from the developer. So I called, and he said, "Thanks very much for calling." "Oh yeah, this happens all over town." I said, "Well, but I can't use my driveway, and I can't get to my garage, and that's kind of a problem." "Oh, you can use your driveway." "No, I can't. It's not safe." "Oh, you can use your driveway." So we went rounds to that. And then I got a lecture on what a litigious society we had become, followed by the astounding statement that if I were unfortunate enough to have fall in this hole, I would be trespassing. At which point I understood that this conversation was going nowhere. But of course, a couple weeks later, when they had finished and the concrete had cured, they had to backfill the hole. Well, how do you backfill the hole when there's no dirt there to stand on? Well, from the driveway, of course. I guess that's not trespassing. So I'm confused about what's trespassing. But what I know is that you can't put a ladder safely at any angle on that property. You certainly can't put it on this concrete thing. So where did it have to go? On the driveway. And then I guess they don't trespass to pick up all this stuff, the nails and the staples and that would ruin your feet or your tires. So that's left to me to clean up. But then the crowning glory was, at the end of the project, they have to put sod down and build a patio in the back. Well, how do you get all this stuff to the backyard? Well, with a thing that's about this wide, motorized, that's going to run up the driveway because it's muddy on the other side of the house. So what did I do? I called the alderman, I called the city. Somebody would come out, they'd tell them to stop, and the next morning when I would go away, they'd start all over again. And I would be at the city 3-4 days in a row. What do you do? I mean, literally, what do you do? So in the end, at 36 years of paying taxes in this town, to be told I'm trespassing if I fall in a 10-foot pole. But the bottom line is, you could make these developers, these McKennas, these whoever they are, into perfectly nice, neighborly, rational people, and they have to trespass. There's no way to do this otherwise. So that's it. I'm done. And I'm done. I'm done. This was really a horrendous experience.
Elizabeth Ambrosi, 257 Oak Street.
Hello, not prepared at all, but just wanted to briefly say I'm here in support of the Virgil family and the Hoop House. I'm an avid gardener. I find it very therapeutic. I was disappointed that they were asked to take their hoop house down, which I think is a lovely thing. I also think, for me, a very big issue is that I feel like in many ways they're really being infringed on their rights as homeowners. I understand there are times when the city has to step in. I certainly don't think that this is one of those situations. I'm glad you're moving forward. I was very happy to hear that my wonderful alderperson, Marty, and perhaps Scott are going to bring this up to you guys, whoever they need to bring it up to perhaps try to work on a policy that hoop houses would be permitted. And I do hope that happens. I hope all of you guys take it seriously and whoever is involved in that. I think it's really a futuristic way. Although for me, it's not really futuristic. I mean, there are people in Oak Park that have chickens in their backyard. I can't imagine that happening here, but we just want a hoop house, not chickens. And, You know, I really see like some of our businesses, restaurants in the future coming in and saying, hey, we want a hoop house in the back because people love fresh herbs and fresh tomatoes and all of that. So, you know, again, please think outside of the box. I'd really, really appreciate you if you guys would take this seriously. Thank you.
Dan Virgil.
Dan Virgil, 598 Fairview. I'm the owner with my wife of the Hoop House. I spoke here last meeting as well. I understand, I believe there's at least a rumor of a referral for perhaps changing the code to allow the hoop houses. I appreciate that. I think, you know, I've heard a number of people last meeting and so far this meeting as well supporting it and the benefits of it. You know, from a sustainability point of view, it makes a lot of sense to be able to grow local organic produce. It also makes sense, you know, for a number of other reasons as well. But one of the things I want to mention on the city website, in the statement that was published in January, it says the city does not regulate backyard gardens. I'm not sure what the intent of that statement is, because it's definitely not a true statement. You know, if you want to grow vegetables or anything in the colder months of the year, according to the city, the only way to do that is with a greenhouse. So if they're saying, if the city is saying that, you know, you can do it, but you can only do it this way, that's sort of feels like the definition of regulation. So I think we need to take a look at it, and it needs to be, you know, it needs to make sense. You know, a greenhouse, you know, if we're trying to grow in the same garden beds year round, it just doesn't work. It's too hot during the summer, you know, what we're looking for is something temporary just for the colder months. So I'd appreciate, you know, as you guys look at this, you know, keep that in mind. One of the things I do want to mention, you know, this is in the backyard, right? You know, there should be some leeway for citizens to do, you know, kind of their own thing a little bit in their own backyard. You know, a lot of people have ice rinks, and I've heard, you know, people talk about those as well. You know, I'm not against ice rinks. We had an ice rink for several years. It wasn't in the backyard, it was actually in the front yard. And nobody said boo about that. We had it for several years. You know, our kids played hockey with the Chiefs for a few years, and you know, they enjoyed the ice rink. But you know, with the hoop house seems to be a different story. So, you know, I want to make sure that you know, as you guys look at it, that you're keeping in mind, you know, this is people's backyards, right? You know, they should have some leeway to do their own thing in their backyard. Thank you.
Nicole Virgil.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for the time this evening. I'd just like to add one thing to the discussion about our backyard hoop house. Well, a couple things. Firstly, thank you to the aldermen who have expressed an interest in furthering this, Mr. Levin and Ms. Deuter. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And to the other aldermen who are considering it, I am not an attorney, but I am advised by an attorney that indicates to me that it is possible for the city to consider researching and drafting an ordinance to support and provide for hoop houses, even while a hearing or legal proceedings are going on. Those two things are not mutually exclusive from a legal perspective. So this is one of the things that I had asked about last fall when we were discussing this with code enforcement. I had said, if there is no specific provision for hoop houses, could we not work like immediately to craft some ordinance like now, like that was last October? Could we start on that? And that has always been my approach. You know, if we need legal protection for hoop houses, can we start talking about it now instead of the deferring as seasons go, right? We'd like optimally to have something in place before fall 2017. So let's go, you know, let's start. We're happy to contribute to the conversation or research. Again, I am advised by a few attorneys that there's nothing legally restraining the council from pursuing that research and working with the community at this time. So thank you for your consideration. We stand ready, and I am available to provide you with either a tour of our home, the construction and engineering and design behind our particular hoop house, any other information that you would like. I'm happy to contribute to it. And again, thank you for those who are already considering it. And I guess that's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
John M. Wendell.
Mayor Morley and City Council, my name is John Wendell. I live at 599 South Fairview Avenue here in Elmhurst and have lived in Elmhurst for a period since 1971 and have raised our 4 children in this community. I just want to also speak about this topic that's in the forefront right now, the hoop house. And as I think about this, my mind goes back to a gentleman that I read about some years ago who lived in a community where they would not let him have a pole in his yard because he had the audacity to fly an American flag on it. And so he was ordered by the community to take the flag down. The neighbors came to his rescue because they learned that he was a Medal of Honor recipient. And so they allowed him then to fly the flag for which he was willing to basically lay down his life. I too am a retired veteran. The hoop house, I perhaps am the one resident in Elmhurst that it most directly affects, because I live right across the street. Now, I've done a lot of world travel, and I've gone to India numbers of times, and I've been to the Taj Mahal. It's a gorgeous structure. It contains 2 dead bodies. I look at the hoop house, and to me it's wonderful because there are 2 parents here tonight who are using that as an opportunity to train their children in responsibility and business, and every time I go out my door, I see it. It's not a Taj Mahal, but I see what it is doing for the neighbors, for the children, and I think it's a great thing. So, for me, if the hoop house went, I'd be sad. That's all I have to say.
That's all who signed in tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, that's it for public forum for those who signed in. At this time, is there anybody in the audience who did not have an opportunity to sign in on our sign-in sheet, but wishes to address the audience, wishes to address the council? If so, please raise your hand so I can get an idea if there's anybody else who wishes to address the council. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I see 3 on the right-hand side. We'll start with the lady all the way in the back who's leaning against the wall. Same rules apply. I would ask that you identify yourself when you get to the microphone.
My name is Armeline Moretti. I live at 243 North Highview in Elmhurst.
Pardon me, could you spell your name for us, please?
A-R-M-A-L-I-N-E. You want the last name?
Sure.
M-I-R-R-E-T-T-I.
Great, thank you. Please continue.
I'm here to say my piece for the hoop house. I think it's a wonderful idea. I have to, commend the gentleman that was just up here. I think the same thing he does, and I'm so nervous. The hoop house does no harm at all to anyone around their property. On January 9th, I was walking my dog, and I took a really bad fall, and I got a concussion because of somebody's sump pump the water was coming out, and it was on the sidewalk, and it got icy, and I didn't see it, and I fell, and I got a concussion. Now, this is something that, to me, is more of a problem than a hoop house. I mean, we have so many of these. I walk my dog all the time, And I notice this a lot, but I don't see a lot of things going on about that. But yet you're spending all this time about a hoop house in somebody's backyard, but you're not worried about these sump pump lines that are filtering out and making the sidewalks very, very dangerous. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, there was two people left. I'll go with the lady on my left to start with, and then the woman in the red scarf after. Or either or. You guys work it out.
I got the red scarf on. Good evening. I'm Jan Foster, 257 Elm Avenue, Elmhurst. Been here for a number of years. I'm with Elmhurst Garden Club. I'm not here in a professional aspect to support, for Elmhurst Garden Club, but just to let you know. I do know that their garden, as the hoop houses, was selected because it's pretty progressive. It's pretty forward-thinking. And I just, working with Elmhurst Cool Cities and learning about the carbon footprint from Lisa, I just think it's a tremendous thing to grow your own vegetables in your own backyard and to extend the growing season. I applaud them for all that they have done with it. And I think it's just a good thing. And again, they have a family involvement, it's a family commitment. I mean, how much you have everything there. And I am grateful that, if I remember the names correctly, Mr. Levin and Marty are gonna reopen this or rediscuss it, because I think the farm to plate issue, the market of this, you're gonna see more. And whoever spoke ahead of me that said, that restaurants are going to be watching their own hoop house. If any of us watch the cooking shows and the locavore and all those things that are coming in, this is what the future is. People don't want the additives. They want their own food, and they want it to be local. And I just think this is a very good thing to promote, to encourage. It's all a part of sustainability. It's all a part of making this a better place, a better environment for all of us. So I applaud that you're going to re-look at it, and I hope you will reconsider it. And I also want to say a support to what Barb Lonergan said earlier. I really agree with everything that she said about zoning and variances, because you need to be consistent. And like the other lady that came up just before me, there's a lot of inconsistencies in the building codes and the commercial development, and they have impacted me directly as they have her. And I just think that's very unfair. But anyways, that's off the subject of the hoop house, and I just hope that you reconsider the position. Thank you.
Okay, last lady.
My name is Linda McDonald, and I live at 660 Fairview. The new buzzword, and I am in support of the hoop house. The new buzzword is farm to table. So I think that's something you ought to think about a little bit. We hear all the time in the city, we've heard a lot of it today, about being eco-friendly, recycling, organic, sustainability. Well, the hoop house is all of these things. We should be celebrating the hoop house, not trying to prohibit and shut it down and get rid of it. I think that everything that can be done should be done to get this passed so that they can have it, because I think it will be, I think other people will possibly maybe think of doing something like that also, just because the food is so good. I think that it is wonderful, because they have taught their kids not only just about the hoop house and coming here and seeing how, government works sometimes, or doesn't work sometimes, whatever the case may be. But they've taught them how to they've built this all themselves from the, the, what do you call it, raised beds. And the kids have had to do this. It's something that the schools ought to look into, because I think it's the up and coming thing. So thank you for hearing me.
Okay, anyone else? Yes.
totally and completely unplanned. My name is Jill Perez. I've lived in this town 57 years, a very long time. I think putting everything aside, and there's been some miscommunication, is there a code, is there not a code, there's been an adjudication, they have to take the hoop house down. I think we need to move forward. I think whatever the miscommunications have been, I think we need to put that in the past, and I think this council needs to look out here and listen and understand that this is a really good thing and a thing of the future. My daughter teaches at Urbana High School. She is in the second year of a grant from the state of Illinois that was a renewable grant for farm-to-table teaching. She's in a farming community, and they are making their own hoop house at her school. So I understand there can be some bitter feelings. People are upset. But I think the time now is to put all of that behind us, and let's move forward, and let's allow hoop houses. Let's figure out what the code should be. Technology changes, and I think you have to try and keep up with technology. And maybe there wasn't a code that fitted exactly, so then let's make a code. Let's move forward. This is a very good thing for people to have in their backyards. It's healthy. It's teaching children so many things about business, growing, carpentry, sustainability. And I just say, let the bygones be bygones, let the hard feelings go. I think every older person should go out to see the hoop house before it gets taken down. I don't know if it's been taken down yet, but I don't know how you can make a judgment about this without going there to see it and listening to the Virgil family and talking with them. They know about this. Use their knowledge. But let's move forward. Elmhurst has a chance to be a very progressive town. Let's take that opportunity.
Okay. That about does it for public forum. Is there anyone else at the time who wishes to speak who did not have an opportunity to do so? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on. Announcements. Any announcements from the dais? Alderman Dunn.
I just want to mention that there is a meeting of the ONCC Ad Hoc Fly Quiet Committee. They'll be discussing the runway rotation program. That committee meeting will be this Wednesday, the 8th, at 9 in the morning at the Chicago Department of Aviation office in Chicago.
Okay, any other announcements? Seeing none, we'll go on to consent agenda. At this time, is there anyone, any alderman who wishes to have any item removed from the consent agenda for further comment or to vote no? Alderman Bram.
5.6, 5.16.
.6 and 5.16. Okay. Anything else? Seeing none, I will now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda minus items 5.6 and 5.16. Motion to approve. Motion by Alderman Dunn, second by Alderman Levin. Clerk Spencer.
Bram.
Aye.
Polomsky.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Toledo. Aye. Healy.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Onquist, absent. Wagner.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Goiter.
Aye.
Sabatino, absent. Leader.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent.
12 ayes, 0 nays, motion carries. Consent agenda is approved minus item 5.6 and 5.16. On to agenda item 5.6. Clerk Spencer, I'd ask that you read the recommendation.
It is therefore the recommendation of the Public Works and Buildings Committee that the city building rates for 65 and 95 gallon container service, refuge stickers, and yard waste stickers be adjusted annually as indicated above and on the attached spreadsheet for the contract period of 2017-2018. Signed by Jim Kennedy, Chairman, Marty Deuter, Vice Chairman, Patrick Wagner, unsigned, Michael Bram.
Okay, to put this before council, I'll ask for a motion to approve the report and recommendation as read. Motion by Alderman Kennedy, second by Alderman Deuter. Alderman Kennedy, your report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll defer to Alderman Bram, who pulled the report.
Alderman Bram, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not going to belabor this too long. I am part of this committee who issued this report. I did not sign this report. I've had concerns, or maybe I can say as strong as issues over the past years on how we continue to raise the per gallon charge for the smaller toters every single year within the last few years. Over the past few years, since 2013, since we have done, I believe, the contract where we no longer offered a 32-gallon garbage cans, which at least my anecdotal evidence that senior citizens and smaller families were utilizing, talking about comments tonight about sustainability in cool cities, we don't offer that for refuse as an option anymore. The smallest we offer is 65-gallon. That has been on a continued rise since 2013 from about 9,000 residential homes to close to 9,400 residential homes. And this is a good thing. When you compare it to the 95-gallon toter, it's the direct opposite. 2013, 4,300 residential users, down to close to 4,000 over the last few years. So we're moving in the right direction. We are cool cities. I believe one of the residents already made mention of that this evening. We're going in the right direction to recycle more, to put less in landfill, but from a city perspective, I believe at least that we are penalizing people for doing such a good deed. We are doing a lower cost per gallon rate for a 95-gallon toter compared to the 65-gallon toter. It's more expensive to throw out less per gallon compared to throwing out more. If we are walking the talk of being a cool city, if we are walking the talk about sustainability, why would we be charging more for the residents of Elmhurst to doing what's best for the environment, and that's throwing less in the landfill? Over the past few years, the overall cost, not this year, but the last couple of years prior, it was an 82-cent increase for 65-gallon and a 77 increase the following year for 65-gallon. In comparison, those same 2 years, the 95-gallon increase was 27 cents and 37 cents, more than half off for the larger toter who's throwing more in the landfill. The argument has been in committee as well as here on the dais that what we refer to as the city administration rates should be level set no matter if you're using a 65-gallon or a 95-gallon toter. Well, I've been around for 16 years. City staff, city council in the past has always made statements before in the public that the city administration rate has always been used to level set the prices per each of the toters. Let's pretend to say that that is an accurate statement, that we should level set. Administration costs should be even across them all. Well, then I challenged that, and I challenged it in committee. Then how come the administration rate for the refuse stickers has actually gone down over the years? Have we ever seen any cost in life really go down? But it goes down for one category, but it doesn't go down for the other. It only increases for the 65-gallon. The other arguments that I don't essentially agree with the report, and I voiced concerns in past years, was what are we really trying to recoup here with these administration costs? One of the things that has been documented is 1.1 full-time staff to handle refuse and recycling questions. That means over 8 hours a day, every day of the year, there must be phone calls for one person dedicated to handle anything there is to do with garbage questions or recycling. I find that hard to believe that we have one person in City Hall just answering questions about garbage. But that's part of the cost that we're trying to recoup. 1.1, so over one full-time staff all year round applied to the administration cost for what we're charging here. I don't see it.
I don't understand on how we could use that logic. Lastly, I want to touch on the seniors. The seniors don't have an option of 32 gallons any longer. I'm glad that this contract is up this upcoming year because I think that should be revisited and move forward to give multiple options. But I don't see on how we can have a larger toter for people on restricted income, but continue to increase the cost per gallon for those individuals. I don't think it's fair, and I can't support this report.
Okay, any other comments? Seeing none, I'll ask Clerk Spencer to please call the roll.
Bram.
Oh, I'm sorry. Pardon me. Alderman Polomsky.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to speak to this a little bit with some questions and answers that came up a couple of years ago. Just that when somebody asked the question, how can you promote less waste and what's the best way to go about it? Is it toter size? It was the waste hauler that said, by the city providing unlimited recycling, you will see the least amount of waste being hauled away. And I don't know if that's cause and effect, but the fact that we have more people using the 65-gallon and fewer people using the 95-gallon, and the fact that it is over $5 cheaper to use the 65-gallon, I think goes along with what they expected. So I know this question's come up before, and I remember it being asked. It just seems to make sense, and I think we're seeing some of those results. So I support the report. Thank you.
Anyone else who hasn't had an opportunity to speak? Alderman Bram?
Yes. My recollection, and Alderman Mulliner has been here longer than I, but we've always had unlimited recycling. We had a smaller rectangular bin for the recycling, but it's always been unlimited. So I don't know if that's the cause and effect of seeing the shift in paradigm, but quite honestly, to me, it's irrelevant on why we're seeing the shift. I'm glad to see the shift that we're throwing out more. I'm not happy to see the shift that we're paying more when we are throwing out more.
Okay, any other comments? Clerk Spencer.
Bram.
No.
Polomsky.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Toledo. Aye. Healy.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Onquist, absent. Wagner.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Deuter.
Aye.
Sabatino, absent. Leader.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
11 ayes, 1 nays, 2 absent.
11 ayes, 1 nay. Motion carries. Agenda item 5.6 is approved. On to agenda item 5.16. This is an ordinance. Clerk Spencer, I'd ask that you read the ordinance.
An ordinance waiving bid and accepting the proposal of Hudson Group LTD, I forget what that means. Doing business at the Trolley Car Company for trolley services within the city of Elmhurst and authorizing the execution of a contract between Hudson Group LTD doing business as the Trolley Car Company and City of Elmhurst.
Okay, to put this before council, I'll ask for a motion to approve the ordinance as read. Motion by Alderman Healy, second by Alderman Polomsky. Alderman Healy?
Thank you, Mayor. This is the ordinance for the trolley program this year, the report that was discussed at the last meeting. I was not at the last meeting, but I understand it was a pretty good debate, and the council approved the report, so this is simply the ordinance enacting that report.
Okay. Alderman Bram, you pulled this?
Yes, thank you. I pulled the report only from the standpoint of, as it was discussed, I pulled the ordinance. When the report was discussed, I was not in support of it. It's been multiple years now, and we're keeping essentially the same route or the same loop, and we're not going further north or further south, which was speculated after it was stated of doing the first-year pilot program, if that was deemed to be successful, that expanding the route would be looked at the subsequent year, which we're a couple years later, and I don't know if it's been or how at length it's been discussed in committee, but the recommendation has been to stick to the same route. I'm not against the trolley overall, but I think it's benefiting the same people year in, year out, and we're not seeing any advancement to bring other people within the city of Elmhurst to the downtown or the various shopping districts that it's targeting at this time. So I cannot support this.
Okay, any other comments? Clerk Spencer?
Bram.
No.
Polomsky.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Toledo.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Onquist, absent. Wagner.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Deuter.
Aye.
Sabatino, absent. Leader.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
11 ayes, 1 nays, 2 absent.
Say that again, clerk, I missed it. I missed the count.
11 ayes, 1 nays, 2 absent.
11 ayes, 1 nay, motion carries. 5.16 is approved. On to committee reports. Agenda item 6.1, Clerk Spencer, I'd ask you read the recommendation.
It is therefore the recommendation of the Development, Planning, and Zoning Committee that the City Council approve the redevelopment agreement with Fit Form Realty LLC, signed by Scott M. Levin, Chairman, Mark A. Mulliner, Vice Chairman, Michael Honquist.
Thank you, Clerk Spencer. 1 second. Okay. All right. Who would I ask? Can we make sure that door stays open? I know, it was, I think we closed it because there was some noise out there. Oh, I wasn't asking, I was asking staff to do it. But Liz, if you can handle it, thank you. Okay, so that was, Clerk Spencer read the recommendation. I will now entertain a motion to put this before council. I'll entertain a motion to approve the report and recommendation as read. Motion by Alderman Levin, second by Alderman Mulliner. Alderman Levin, your report.
Thank you. Almost 2 years ago, we were contemplating the opening of the new parking garage, and the committee, DPZ, looked at the issue of whether or not, in view of the large parking structure, there was a need to maintain the surface lot directly across the street. If you'll recall, we took a little bit of a different approach. Instead of getting involved in a very long development process, we did what was essentially a mini RFP. We had a couple of proposals, and one of them was Fitness Formula Clubs, a high-end health club that offered to build a facility there for a proposed sale price of $2 million. I hoped the project would move a little faster, but it's actually moved along pretty well in terms of other projects that, these kinds of development projects, but we are going to have a 50,000 square foot state-of-the-art health facility there. As part of the due diligence that FFC undertook, it was determined that there was a defect in the soil, that it would not be possible to build that building or just about any large structure there. It was negotiated, they requested a reduction in the land price of $330,000. Staff engaged in the negotiation, and the reduction was placed at $240,000 instead, to account for the fact that even if the soil was defective and had to be removed and replaced with a suitable building quality soil, the developer, FFC, would still have to have a cost to take it out. It's whatever it was going to take out if the soil had been of good quality. So that was negotiated. And there was a reduction of $240,000. And I will point out that is it's not really just an incentive, but that's something that would happen in any kind of development project as the result of due diligence and a defect in the property. In addition, the city would, as part of its streetscape planning, put in the streetscape pavers up to the building setback, and do some other curb replacements and things of that nature. Instead of the city doing it, we've given the developer credit to do what we would otherwise do. So there is a total reduction in the purchase price of $275,000. The last component is somewhat indirectly related, but along the entire alley, there's been some discussion, and it will come back up for the Opus development that's proposed south on that same alley, that the city is undertaking to relocate the utilities from above ground to below ground on the entire alley. And so that's one of the commitments we've made to do that would also serve this particular development. If all goes as planned and the RDA is, redevelopment agreement is attached, we would expect 15 months of construction, and in a little less than 2 years, we'll have a new facility down there, which will significantly liven up Addison Street as we've hoped to redevelop it over the many years that we've been doing downtown planning. So I ask your support.
Great. Any additional comments or questions? Alderman Dunn.
I think this is a great project. This property moving into this part of the downtown area is going to kickstart Addison Street. The one question I have for the committee is, we agreed to a purchase price of $2 million with our partner, and the property has some impairments that were outlined, and I believe those are TIF eligible expenses that the property or that our partner is requesting. So I believe it's appropriate to not just reduce the price, the selling price to the applicant, but to utilize the TIF balance to cover those costs, as opposed to just simply reducing the sales price. So I'd like to hear if there was any discussion on that in committee.
I don't know that it was particularly discussed in committee, but there was some component of the negotiation. The developer preferred a reduction in the purchase price. It really comes out, I mean, it's one pocket or the other. So either we're getting less for the land, or we're selling for more, and then the city's kicking money from the TIF fund. Those funds could be used for other purposes. They didn't ask for TIF assistance. I suppose they could have, and we didn't process it that way. So it was handled more as an outright real estate deal, and the reduction in the purchase price was warranted by the condition. Could it have been handled the other way? I'd say it could.
Any additional comments? Alderman Toledo.
Just a quick question, just because this has been going on for a number of years. I don't recall, if you could just remind me one way or another, if they applied for a facade program, and if so, they received it.
They didn't apply for one, so I assume that means they didn't receive it.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Alderman Bram.
Thank you. And yes, it has been going on for a while, so I might need some memory refresh myself. Alderman Levin already stated, and I think it's a good point to consider when we're talking about the overall RDA for FFC, a lot of acronyms there, that there is currently, we just passed on the consent agenda, at least under a report, close to $257,000 for a utility relocation for this project. That obviously means removing Comcast out of the way, electric, gas, et cetera. That's $257,000. Relatively recently, we approved allowing for health clubs to be in our downtown or CBD district. Part of that process, we allowed them, just like the rest of the businesses in downtown, which are, I would at least argue, are a lot different than a health club facility of this nature, to not have to provide any of their own parking. And no, that's not a direct incentive, but across the street is the large parking deck that we all approved by consensus, and the individuals who will be utilizing this facility, FFC, which is not or barely sales tax generating, will be utilizing the public parking deck across the street. And the latest I've heard was it ranges from a parking space, from a parking deck structure, anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 a space. And I don't have the numbers in front of me when the applicant was here before, but at peak times, they're going to be utilizing a lot of spaces. So I've had questions in the past, well, how come you guys built that parking garage, nobody uses it? Well, once FFC is in, it will be, bless you, it will be utilized. But I look at that as also an incentive, because they're not paying for parking, they're not paying for utility relocation. Yes, we're asking them, and yes, in a way, they're doing us a favor by doing some of the beautification, the pavers and whatnot, the streetscaping, if you will, but we're paying for it. We, being the taxpayers, are paying for it. A couple of questions I want to ask the committee is in regards to the cost for these soil issues. We are stating that we're providing them with $240,000 for that. Did we have any documentation from them showing a few estimates saying that that is really going to be their costs? So that's question one. And I know it's a little bit past the point in regards to this, but it plays into the overall what we give in this RDA to this applicant. Have we done an appraisal on this property? It's city property. What was the appraisal versus what the ask was and what the actual sale price was from the applicant being FFC? The third question being, when we did make this sale, I find it hard to believe, but maybe it wasn't in there, but didn't we have, this is for sale as is? So why are we covering, the question that leads to is, why are we covering costs when I would think that our land sale contract would just say this is a sale as is? And the fourth and final question is, has the committee, or if the applicant is here tonight, I'm not sure, but what incentives has FFC received, if any, from the other towns that FFC is currently located in? Park Ridge, Oak Park, either of the city facilities. Have they received any benefit? My understanding by talking to the Park Ridge planner was that, at least from the village, they didn't receive any, or sorry, the Oak Park planner, they didn't receive any incentives from the village directly. They may have from the person who owned the land at the time, but from the village, there was no incentives. So I asked the question, why is Elmhurst giving so much to this applicant? So those are my four questions. Was there appraisal on the property? Did they provide documentation for costs of soil issues and what that was? Was this property being sold as is? And I think I can't find what my fourth one was now.
Did they receive any incentives?
From other communities.
Okay, I can answer two of those right off the bat. We didn't do an appraisal. Council elected not to do a formal appraisal. We did what I'll call a wind chill appraisal from various commercial real estate folks that work with the city of Elmhurst, but we did not get an appraisal on this. We went with market price. That was what the council elected to do. So as far as this being for sale as is, I think it was pretty standard in the real estate contract that there was a due diligence period. I don't believe at the time our RFP stated as is. As far as it relates to soil issues, I don't know to what extent those were discussed at committee, and I don't know if incentives were discussed at committee. But I'd look to the chairman and see if he has any wishes to add any additional information.
Yes.
As it relates to soil costs or incentives.
And a couple other things that were mentioned. The $298,000, I believe it was, report out of Public Works was not just for this project, it's for the entire alley. So you can't attribute the entire cost to one project. It's going to directly affect this one, Opus, and anything that happens in between. The $240,000 soil issue, it was negotiated. We verified their figures, and we wanted to make sure that the number that they were giving us wasn't just a number they were pulling out of thin air, and it was then negotiated. In terms of the parking issue, I don't know that we restrict parking only to sales tax producing entities. We got a lot of banks, doctors, real estate brokers, and other people that use those garages. And in fact, one of the significant uses of that garage is for employee parking to get people off the street so that people can park in front. So I think that's not really part of what this referral and now sort of what this ordinance and RFP was all about. I concur with what the mayor says. It was not as is. In any kind of real estate deal, when someone buys as is, sometimes it means that they are taking it no matter what. If you're buying a house and you're going to knock it down and you're not concerned about what's underneath because there's a house right there, you'll make an as-is offer. If you're buying a commercial property and there's potential for soil issues, environmental issues, easements that may not be of record, those are part of what's traditionally incorporated in a commercial real estate contract as part of the due diligence. I feel that the FFC went in good faith. They did not ask for an incentive. They're asking for something that any other purchaser of real estate would ask at the end of due diligence. We're buying a property with the assumption that we can pay X dollars and build on it, and now we're finding out that there's a defect in the property. So it's somewhat irrelevant what other municipalities did because they didn't really ask us for incentives as has been done on other projects. So I hope I've answered all your questions. If not, I have.
Okay. Anyone else who hasn't had an opportunity to speak? Anyone else who wishes to add to the conversation? Alderman Bram.
Thank you. I just want to clarify the statements that were just made. My statement was in regards to utility relocation was 256,000 and change, not 298. The 298,000 and change is for the 100 North Addison development, which is the Opus development. So my statements on the consent agenda tonight were accurate in regards to close to 257,000 for utility relocation. I mean, I signed the report for that to move forward, but I want to make everyone aware that I do believe as an overall, and you can label it as incentive or a benefit or whatever terminology you want to utilize, but an overall benefit for this project has to include everything that needs to be done for the development to happen as it is drawn up per plans, because if the utility relocation didn't happen, the development in itself would be smaller, can't go lot line to lot line compared to what is proposed today. I didn't make reference to banks or anybody else who's non-sales tax generating. My reference point was in regards to keep in mind that this is a non-sales tax generating property. That was my statement, that we need to keep in consideration when you're giving benefits, if you will, to a non-sales tax property. I think there should be a difference between that and a development that will be generating sales tax that the city of Elmhurst taxpayers will eventually, in theory, recoup over years to come. Yes, it draws people to the downtown area. I don't disagree with that at all. It's all anecdotal if those people are going to come and work out and stay or purchase anything or just come out and leave. But I wasn't nitpicking from a health club versus any other non-sales tax entity. And the last statement, I believe it is relevant on what other towns do. I mean, it's the same type of development by the same applicant that has gone on in various municipalities before us. So wouldn't we be foolish to not look at what type of incentives or benefits that other towns have offered? Why should we go above and beyond what other towns offer? So I would disagree that it is not something that we should consider. We consider other towns in a lot of discussions. We do comparisons when it's talking about refuse to other towns. We do it all the time. Why we would say, well, let's limit ourselves and only pay attention to our silo being Elmhurst is not something that I think is appropriate. So I take the response being that it was either not looked at, or if it was looked at, other towns weren't providing an incentive or benefits, to not use that nasty word incentive. Like I already stated, Oak Park, I didn't talk to the land seller to FFC, but Oak Park as the village stated to me, my understanding from their statements, was that they didn't provide any benefits. They let them use the parking deck, and I think there's a certain amount of passes or reduction in passes or something like that. But we're going above and beyond that. So I really have some concerns over this due to the amount of what I would deem at least total benefits to an entity, albeit great, albeit beautiful, that really is questionable on what is the benefit if we'll get those dollars back from a taxpayer perspective.
Okay, any other comments? Alderman York, then I'll go to Alderman Muller.
Thank you, Your Honor. So one of the great benefits of a piece of property that's not on the tax rolls and a $20 million finished building is real estate taxes. So just like everybody consider that as well. Thank you.
Alderman Mulliner?
Well, that was one of the things I was going to state was that we're putting a building on a piece of property that's vacant. The other thing that I'll make a comment about is that they are actually paying us for this piece of property. They're paying us $1.725 million. This is not something where we're not getting money from this deal. We're getting some money for a piece of property that's been sitting as a parking lot. The additional thing is the power lines, which we're considering as an incentive, if you will. I can remember discussions about 3 or 4 years ago when we were begging ComEd to bury every power line in the city of Elmhurst for storm purposes. Well, we have an opportunity here to bury some power lines that are in behind some commercial buildings and behind some other homes. It gives us an opportunity to, if you will, storm-proof those power lines that are behind there. And this is one of the ways that we can do that. And we can call it an incentive to the building, or we can call it an incentive to the city of Elmhurst, whichever way we'd like to call that. I'll also make a comment about the parking. And the parking is that one of the things that's our goal in building downtown is exactly what was said before, and that is that we're taking surface parking off and we're putting in buildings that are actually bringing in tax revenue for us. We put in a $20 million building. We're going to be collecting that tax revenue for the next 50 years on real estate taxes. If we have a vacant piece of property, we are collecting nothing on that. Those are tax dollars that we're going to be recouping as we move forward throughout the years. So I wholeheartedly support this. I think this is one of the best deals we've ever done because we're actually collecting $1.725 million. I want to make that real clear. That money is coming to the city of Elmhurst.
Any other comments? Clerk Spencer.
Bram. Bram.
Yeah, I'm debating. Aye.
Polomsky.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Toledo.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Tonquist, absent. Wagner.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Deuter.
Aye.
Sabatino, absent. Leader.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent.
12 ayes, 0 nays, motion carries. Agenda item 6.1 approved unanimously. On to reports and recommendations of appointed officials. Mayor Morley, that's me. I'll keep this quick. I think most are aware that we had an unfortunate incident just north here at VIP occasions. We had a fire. The best thing I can say about it is that no one was hurt. There was an extensive fire up there. I do want to extend my gratitude to the Elmhurst Fire Department for all of their hard work. In addition to that, I think we had up to 12 other communities who helped out, either covering the fire with us or covering other parts of Elmhurst while we were engaged with that fire. So I want to thank those other communities for helping us out. I know we'll send them a note letting them know that. Certainly, in addition, our police department and Public Works also played very big roles and continue to play roles as we clean up that situation. The only other thing I have this evening is Elmhurst Fire Department is doing a blood drive this Saturday, February 11th, from 8 to 2 at the at Fire Station 2. That's over there by York Commons. And every lucky participant who donates gets a T-shirt. So Give up some blood, get a T-shirt. It's 8 to 2, and if you want to schedule an appointment, you can call 877-543-3768. That's it for me. City Manager Grabowski?
One item, and it's a follow-up from Alderman Dunn's comment regarding the ONCC meeting. I will be attending that meeting this Wednesday.
Any other reports? Alderman Bram?
Yeah, two requests, which I've made before. One in regards to O'Hare and the impact. My understanding a few months ago, we were discussing that, and it was stated that the city staff would do a presentation on that. So I was hoping for a date tonight, or if not, in the near future, on when that will happen. The other request I made offline was in regards to an economic development presentation. I made the request before that, it would be really good to see something quarterly presented to the full city council, but also for the benefit of Elmhurst residents to see, what is our vacancy rate in reality compared to possibly one's perception? What are the new businesses coming to town? So I think it would be great for that. I was told that that was going to be also done after the State of the City address, and I believe that has been completed. So I was wondering on when the city would be able to present an economic development update.
All right, we'll get back to you, Alderman Bram, on both those dates. Okay, any other reports or recommendations? Alderman Dunn.
Yes, I just want to make mention that and express my gratitude to Mayor Morley and our city manager and staff. We had a group from Serbia in this morning. They were a delegation that were members of parliament from that country, part of a congressional program that shares ideas and sends folks, brings folks from other countries, governmental personnel from other countries, and also sends our own abroad. So it was a very beneficial meeting with the group. They were mainly new parliamentarians or trying to make a lot of changes over there in Serbia. They've had their challenges, but had a great visit here to allow them to learn a little bit how we govern at the municipal level. They spent a little time out at the county as well later this morning and headed down to Springfield afterwards. So overall, a great visit. Thanks again.
Any other reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to other business. Any other business? Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a couple of things, and you touched on one of the things I want to touch on. The fire department had their big event a couple weeks ago, and they did a tremendous job. It was a bad situation. Fortunately, nobody was hurt, but our fire department was literally driving by when they noticed it. I mean, they were on top of it before the call started coming in, so they did a great job. But earlier in that week, our police department also had a situation where they handled the situation very professionally, very completely, very thoroughly. We're in total control of the situation. So I want to pass along my thanks to Chief Ruth, who's sitting in the audience, and the men and women of the Elmhurst Police Department who handled that situation very well. Along with both of those situations, and this is really what I wanted to get at, communication. The amount and completeness of the communication that came from the city on both those situations is something that I was very proud of. With the police situation, that somehow managed to get 205 involved because of social media, quite honestly, and I think that particular instance showed the good nature of social media, but also the potential negative the negative connotations that social media can have. That situation, because of social media, because of rumors and innuendo on social media, it turned a situation that was well in hand into something that it wasn't. But going back to the communication that came from City of Elmhurst, it was complete, it was thorough, it was timely. We hired communications manager Schrempf a year and a half ago. She's done a tremendous job, and that's something that I know that we all feel as a council and as a mayor, that we need to continue to improve how we communicate to our residents, the manner in which we communicate to them, the timeliness we communicate to them, and the accuracy of the information. And I think that the city, in both of those instances, did a very good job, and I commend city staff for their efforts, on top of those of what the public safety folks did. The last thing I want to mention, several speakers in the audience today talked about hoop houses, and I want to make sure that, well, I'll speak for myself. The issue to me is not about farming, it's not about organics, it's not about being green. That's not the issue at all. The issue has to do with temporary structures on property and what those temporary structures are made of and how big they are. And that's the issue. I certainly respect those that feel strongly, as showed up tonight and expressed that, but I can tell you firsthand experience, there are many people that feel strongly the opposite way. They didn't show up tonight, they haven't showed up at a city council meeting, but they've contacted me. I know they've contacted other aldermen. Sounds like a referral might be in the works, which I think is a good thing, and then the process will play out. But I want to be clear, at least from my perspective, the issue is not about gardening. The issue is about temporary structures. Last part, and there was a speaker, and I don't think she's here anymore, that slipped on a sidewalk walking her pet. I smiled, and I did so inadvertently. We actually changed the code for sump pump ejector pumps and sump pump codes year and a half ago. To address another situation, and there's a couple members in the audience that feel very passionately about stormwater and stormwater management. We actually changed the code to force homes to flush the water out over grade, to eject the water over grade. And at the time, we discussed it. We as a committee, we as a council discussed the sump pump wars and water on sidewalks. So you think you're addressing one issue and it causes a reaction over here. So it was interesting to me. We knew it was coming. Certainly, trip hazards in the winter are ever present. Anybody that walks a dog, walks a pet, understands them in the winter. We just got to be careful. I sincerely hope that lady is okay. But rest assured, when it comes to issues like that, public safety or flooding, those are not issues we look away from or not address. In fact, we have addressed them, and the way we addressed it may have led to that specific instance, but I don't know the facts. So that's all I wanted to say. Appreciate it, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other business? You know, Alderman York just kind of whispered something. I don't, my phone's dead, so I can't pull up the email I got. Is the League of Women Voters this weekend?
Yes.
This coming weekend? This
Like 1:30, I think.
Okay, Elmhurst League of Women Voters hosts a forum. It's actually held in these chambers here. They're going to hold it next Sunday, right? Sunday?
Sunday the 12th.
What is it?
This coming Sunday.
This coming Sunday, the 12th. So I would encourage you to go on to the internet, track down Elmhurst League of Women Voters. They actually have the agenda of who's speaking when. It's for pending elected officials and elections. And I received an email that had the agenda. So that's happening. It's always very beneficial, in my opinion. And residents get to meet and listen to some of the new folks and some of the incumbents. All right. 1 to 5, okay, next Sunday. All right, any other business? Motion to adjourn. Motion by Alderman Healy, second by Alderman Deuter. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned, thank you.
What is it?